Yeah, my name's Alistair. I'm a project engineer for the council, project manager. So I'm in the engineering department, coming at it from a slightly different perspective. But all the things that we can do to try and improve the biodiversity in some of these. Can you hear me? Or do you need this?
Need that.
Need that. Cool. Right, I'll just scooch on. So I'm talking specifically about the Borck Creek catchment, which is one of the projects that I'm working on. And in 2009, our council designated a huge portion of this for stormwater, and we had some particularly forward-thinking engineers and planners at the time that decided we needed a lot more space. So all the things that Trevor was just talking about, some of these channels that are really confined, they allowed a lot more room. And so this is the statement in the designation that shows the intentions to develop stormwater drainage alongside recreation reserves and open space within the same land area. And so this is one of the projects that I've got to develop. We came up with, there's a whole lot of development objectives. The first ones are, it is a stormwater network. So we have to keep the community safe, and we need to get the water through the community so it doesn't flow through people's houses. And to provide for some upgrades to Richmond central stormwater systems, because these were areas that were all going through channels that weren't big enough as well. So we're ending up with situations like Trevor was just talking about. But also to create recreational amenity spaces where people can connect to the waterways, to enhance the ecological value of the streams, and to use the same areas as transport corridors, so that people can get off the roads, get between parts of the town along waterways. So this is one of the large developments in Richmond. There's around about 1,400 houses going in this area. We've got some light industrial area and some mixed business around it. This is central Richmond, and Nelson goes this side. And the stream runs right through the middle, as well as another stream that runs down there. So what our planners and development engineers managed to get in the negotiation stages was a 70-metre corridor for Borck Creek, which was reduced down from 120-ish that they wanted at the start. There was some quite significant negotiations with the landowners and developers at that stage, but we still managed to get a 70-metre wide corridor, which is enough for us to convey a Q100 flow, so a 100-year storm event, through that area, including an allowance for climate change and future development, and sea level rise as well. There was an allowance made in the roughness budget, so the Manning's numbers that we used for the channel, to allow for environmental and recreational enhancements. So it didn't just have to be a grassed stream or a rockline channel. And Patama Stream, we got 27 metres, which was increased to allow for some diversions of central Richmond stormwater into the same stream, post that designation process, after we had a flood event that showed that Queen Street couldn't quite handle the stormwater that we had there. We do have some depth control issues, that the stream can't go any deeper than the Borck Creek it's running into, and there's some protected oak trees. We can't cut the channel down to provide more capacity, which gives us space, because it would cut off the roots to those oak trees and kill them. So we ended up with a slightly smaller roughness allowance to be able to contain those flows. So this is an image of the designations that shows how big we managed to get them with the development. This is Arvida Retirement Village, Appleby Fields development, Meadows development over here, and Richmond in the background as it is, and Patama Stream coming into that channel there. So the current state, or the stream that we started with, was in a rural area. So the difference here was that we were developing, the council or developers were developing a rural area into an urban. So the channel that was there was essentially a farm drain. While it was a natural creek at one stage, it had, with horticulture, and then this is Tasman Bay berries over here, it had just been developed into a dead straight channel with no shade, no coverage, and it also couldn't contain a 50-year flow. So in large storm events, this whole area was underwater. So they're wanting to put houses in here, and we need to do something with that water so it's not flowing through people's living rooms. So there are a bunch of design channels. We'll step over that. One of the important ones to note is the Housing Accord and Special Housing Areas Act, which threw a lot of our planning out the window, and we had to readjust to a lot of that. But these are some of the key ecological principles that we had to bring in, or wanted to bring in as well. And these are the same things Trevor was talking about. Mimicking natural stream formations, providing diversity of habitat, and treatment of stormwater as close to the source wherever we could. We had a bunch of constraints though as well, so we're trying to work as best we can. So we came up with a cross-section of the channel that incorporated as many of the things as possible. We've got a low-flow channel that meanders within a certain area, so that can move around as much as it likes. We've incorporated raised areas for pathways, and slightly less raised areas for recreation, but it has to be kept high enough out of the channel that it can still be mown to make that space maintainable and usable. So this is the plan that we ended up with. It's pretty high detail. I just want to point out a couple of things. We've got these meandering channels where we can. There is a straight section here, and this is one of the things that came up as partway through the project. It was decided we were going to put a bridge in there. So we had to straighten the channels to the approaches to the bridge, but we've incorporated a bunch of habitat features in there. So these are artificial riffles that run into a pool. This is all planting zones and wetlands, and this is a key one to note as well. The stormwater outlet, we got all the development plans from the developers of where the stormwater outlets would be. So we've placed wetlands at those outlets, so the stormwater doesn't go straight into the stream. It has some treatment before it gets in there. We are limited with the amount of planting we can do though for the hydraulic efficiency of the channel. Some construction challenges, I'll skip over those, it's running out of time. But this is Kutama Street, near where that retirement village is. It was a dead straight channel that runs down in a sort of a gutter, and this is what we've turned it into. This is a couple of days ago, so there's no planting or anything in it yet, but we've got a meandering channel, we've got wetland pools, a lot of woody debris put in the edges like Trevor was talking about, and a slightly raised bench for people to be able to access the area. We've also incorporated, where we can, stormwater outlets flowing into wetlands, and a walkway along the top. There's some more images of what it did look like and what it's looking like now. Some other items of interest is these raised islands, so we can get vegetation that can grow a bit higher out of the wet area to overhang the channel. It's a bit dirty because there's still wood working in it and it's bundled off further down. This is some of the substrate that was put in to provide more open matrix of cobbles for fish to hide in. We've used a few rocks in strategic places to provide hides for fish and things as well. This is an aerial shot that shows the meandering channel up there and walkway and raised areas. So it's going to be a key part of these communities. And this is another shot of the one that Trevor worked on a little while ago, showing what it could look like in the future once the planting and things are done. So that's me.